All right. Next question is from Cody. Hey, Adam, big fan. That is a ridiculously kind thing for you to say to me. Brewing an IPA next week, and we are going to use lager yeast. What temp would you ferment at? So I'm going to kind of walk through this a little bit, and this might be a little bit strain dependent. I'm gonna take a stab here and say maybe you're using a 3470 type yeast. It's kind of the biggest lager, one of the biggest lager strains in the world. The good news, if you are, you can typically get pretty solid fermentations with that yeast strain at warmer temperatures when making IPA. And so a lot of times you'll see folks using lager yeast with this cold IPA that's rolling around right now. And you are using 3470. Wonderful. I think you can definitely make a really nice IPA with that yeast strain. The things that you'll want to consider is basically appropriate pitching rate. So no matter what, you want to make sure that you're going to have a good amount of yeast. If you are going to be fermenting this beer in the ale temperature range, you can probably go ahead and pitch at ale rates, even though it is a lager yeast. If you want to go a little bit on the higher side, that's fine too. But I would definitely check that out. My notes on all of those things are, as always, you want appropriate pitch of yeast. If you can have it active and rolling, if you're like in a propagation scenario in a professional sized brewery, or a quick harvest from one tank to another, that would be great, getting that yeast out and rolling. But making sure that, happy, healthy yeast, good yeast nutrient, things like that. As far as using a lager strain for an IPA, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. First of all, there's more and more data points, and I run into more and more people that I both know their beer and respect their opinions about how clean of a ferment you can get with lager strains at warmer temperatures. It maybe isn't the best fit for everything, but I think in a scenario like IPA, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Get out there and get ripping with it. Again, the main thing is Cody says he's going to be harvesting. Are you on the pro side or the hobby side, amateur side? But regardless, you'll be harvesting, so that's great. If you're harvesting out of the bottom of a conical, I would go ahead and blow down, make sure that you've blown down that Truby portion of the cone. You can check out some of the stuff that I've done on cone shaving. So when I've referenced that, to kind of make sure, so you have this cone here with your yeast stratified. The first stuff that's going to drop out is your dead yeast, your trub, your proteins, things like that. Get that off there. Make sure you're harvesting slowly and gently so you're not punching a big hole in that yeast cake. And then once you get into that low solids, nice, wonderful, creamy yeast, that's when you can start cutting your harvest. And I would look at it from that point of view. So I think that's pretty awesome. Harvesting from American Light Lager, great. You should, that's not a beer that's going to squash. That's gonna kill that yeast. So that's the way I would look at it, man. Yeast nutrient as normal. If you're doing that, potentially a little zinc if that's part of your regimen for that. And yeah, ferment in the ale range. Definitely, they're going to be happy there. They're potentially if you want the cleanest beer possible, potentially you want to be doing that at a lower temperature, but I don't think that's really what you're trying to accomplish in a scenario like this. Cody says we are thinking about 52 degrees with a massive dry hop. So I would say, yeah, you can roll low and slow with it. And that's absolutely fine. and folks do that, there's no problem with it. I'm wondering, because you're using terms like massive dry hop, I kind of have the feeling that when I make an IPA, I want there to be so much hop flavor and aroma, you wouldn't be able to pull yeast character out of it. The one exception would be hazy, which I think hazy strains play a very vital role in marrying together with the hop flavor and aroma aromatics. But in a situation where you're pulling a neutral strain, the subtleties there might be lost on it. Now, if you want to do it because you want to do it, that's great. You want to try it, you love the process side of it, and you want to run this out, go ahead and do it at 52. I would probably, if I let that fermentation warm a little bit toward the end for your diacetyl rest, maybe you dry hop at a little bit warmer temperature. But I mean, that's just what I've done in the past. There's all sorts of stuff coming out. People are dry hopping at all temperatures. So check it out. But my hunches is if you fermented it at 50 or 52 or 62, I could be really wrong. But I think if you have this massive hop flavor and aroma, like it sounds like you're aiming for here, you might not be able to tell one from the other. However, that doesn't mean that it's not valid to run it at 52 degrees either. So I think it'd be cool. Hopefully you make it. It's a hit. Do it again, fermenting warmer. See if you can reduce your tank time a little bit and see what your preference is, or if people notice, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, and then Cody said we usually raise up to 74 for diacetyl rest and then drop down to 63 for dry hop. Usually, I'm assuming maybe you might drop some of that yeast off the bottom at that point once you're past then. But yeah, man, that sounds awesome, Cody. I'd love to know what state you're brewing in. Give me a holler on that, and yeah, I appreciate the question.